Hey everybody, my name is B, your Onyx Nova Cosplay, and today I'm going to teach you how to plan for your possibly very first large convention. Or maybe it's your 100th large convention, but you're like, I feel like I've been doing this wrong, and I could use some advice. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help. So, before we get started, I do cosplays, crafts, and other weird crap, and if you want to check it out, then please give me a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But let's jump right in. Today, you and I are going to prepare for Katsucon. As I record this, it is January 22nd, which means Katsucon is about 3 weeks away. When I upload this, it will probably be exactly 3 weeks away, and that's very exciting. But there are a lot of logistical-y things that we need to discuss when we plan for a large convention like Katsucon, and so I figured I would give a full-length, though not totally inclusive, I suppose, a breakdown of what you might need so you can prepare for a convention. I have been going to conventions since 2015, so almost a decade, and I think I know a little bit about what you need and what you need to bring. So, the first thing that you're going to want to think about, and this is going to sound so silly, but I promise you that it is important. The first thing you're going to want to decide is what convention you want to go to. I know that sounds silly, but if I were to go to every convention that I saw on social media that I was like, oh, that looks cool, I would be in hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of debt. And college has already done that to me, so I'm not trying to add to the pile of debt, okay? But I do think it is important to consider cost, which we will get to in a second. But when choosing a convention, the best thing I always think to start with is to think about the vibe. I know a lot of conventions really hype themselves up. They have lots of cool videos. They have their Instagrams and other social medias posting all these awesome things. They have cool guests that you might want to see. But at the end of the day, you really need to see what the people think about it, because at the end of the day, those are the people you're going to be hanging out with anyway and be around. And if people are like not having fun, or if it's overcrowded like some conventions, or if it costs too much like other conventions, then you might not actually have as much fun as social media makes it out to be. I think that's a very important thing to consider. I always say, look at the tags from previous years, read what people think. If it's overall positive, maybe give it a go. Also, don't be afraid to look up other YouTube videos of other cosplayers and con attendees to see what they think. And again, a lot of those are probably going to be in a positive light for the convention, but you can always check it out and see what's going on. I'm going to keep probably using Katsucon as an example, just because that's the convention that I am going to soon. The reason I figured that I would risk going to Katsucon for the first time last year is I saw so many people hyping it up and loving it and having a great time and posting avant-garde things, posting Met Gala stuff, and I was like, that seems awesome. I want to do that. And so I did it. You can check out the vlog right there, by the way. And I know it's hard to decide like what vibes that you think you want to go for and like what cons may seem right. So what I do is at the beginning of the year or at the end of the previous year, I'll like go through all the cons that seem cool, the ones I want to go to, the ones that I've heard bad things about, and decide which ones I do and do not want to go to. Now, that being said, Katsucon might be the only convention I go to this year just for financial reasons. I'm trying to at least go to a couple more closer to me, but we'll see what happens. So, with all that being said, let's jump straight into the cost. Whew! I also say when choosing a convention, think about how willing you are to travel. I personally am willing to go to the moon and back for a convention. I am. If I could drive there in my little car, I would. That's not even a joke. I know not everyone is willing to do that. Some people don't want to drive 30 minutes outside of their town for a convention. I get that. But think about how willing you are to travel, and also think about how much money you're willing to spend on travel, because holy, it can add up. So before I begin talking numbers, I know what you're thinking. Now B, surely conventions aren't all that expensive, and maybe you're just being a little dramatic, and maybe you're bad with numbers. And I'll agree, I am bad with numbers, but like I said, I have been to quite a few of these conventions, and the costs do sneak up on you and add up. So, let's jump into what it really costs to go to a convention. The first thing I think you should always consider is how much you are willing to spend on a ticket. Some tickets can go anywhere from $10 to like hundreds of dollars, and it all depends on the size of the convention and the popularity of the convention. Size and popularity are not always mutually exclusive. There are some big cons that a lot of people do not like. They're still expensive. A big con that I do like, but I do think is way too expensive, is Dragon Con. Their base tickets are, I want to say, $140 just to go for the weekend. And they even have something crazy called the Eternal Membership, which is $4,500. No, I'm not making that up. That is the actual number of what it costs to get the Eternal Membership. And I think that's crazy. I think in like 2018 it was like $2,500, and they just have slowly raised the price every few years. So I guess if you want to get the Eternal Membership, which I think is like a VIP pass, so you end up getting a lot of stuff with it, and you only have to buy one and you're good to go for as long as Dragon Con lives, although you will not be around for that. So I really don't think it's worth it unless you just want to go every year. I don't think it's worth it, but if you want to get that Eternal Membership, I would say buy it now before it costs like $10,000. I myself am not really I'm not really going to spend more than possibly $150 on a ticket, and that's on the steep side for me. Like that would be like the only convention I go to within like a 3-month span. Like I would not go to a convention a month and a half before or a month and a half after, and that would be the one convention for that month. Like that's my range, right? So tickets can cost anywhere from $10 to $100. Now this next part is hotels. This really only applies if you want to stay in the host hotel, or if you're traveling to the convention. Now if you live in the area, I would still suggest, if you can afford it, to get a host hotel, just because I personally find it much easier to just get dressed and then go downstairs for the convention, as opposed to waking up a little bit earlier, getting dressed, getting in the car, driving 15 minutes, trying to find parking, getting inside, and then actually enjoying the convention. But like I said, it's all up to you. This is just my thoughts. This is not, of course, the rules of how to pay for conventions. This is just some helpful advice from someone who's been doing it for a while. So like I said, I am going to Katsucon. I will be sharing the room with 3 other, possibly 4 other people. Depends on if the 4th person is going. But those hotel rooms, well, let's back up. Any hotel room can really cost between like, oh Jesus, like $300 a night to like $1,000 a night. It really depends on what room you're in, which hotel it is. Like, it's crazy. And I know it's very tempting to be like, well, if it's $10,000, if it's $1,000, I'll just get 10 people, $10 a night, boom. Don't do that. I've seen some crazy like room parties, and even pre-COVID, I was like, don't do that, because like, yeah, sure, some people might be cool with crashing on the floor and they only bring like a backpack, but like if you're in a room with 5 other cosplayers, you're all gonna want the bathroom mirror, you're all gonna have a lot of stuff. It's just not worth it. Room with like 3 or 4 people that you trust and that you all like get along with, and like you all have similar vibes. Like if some of you really want to party late into the night and some want to go to bed at 11 p.m., make sure you at least respect that, because that can get not fun. And it may only be 3 days, but like, you don't want to ruin those 3 days because you room with some people you don't like. I'll also say, when it comes to travel, I think a lot of people would think I'm crazy for driving 12 hours to Katsucon there and then 12 hours back. But personally, I think the cost is more worth it. I mean, yeah, gas is expensive, but I would much rather pay a couple $100 in gas than buy a $500 plane ticket and then break one of my cosplays. Because I don't trust flights with my cosplay pieces. I trust myself in my car, where I can, if I get a little paranoid halfway through the trip, I can open the suitcase and be like, no, it's fine, and move on about my day. But also, airlines are absurd, and do you really want to show up to a convention and then them be like, we have no idea where your suitcase is? The convention is only lasting for 3 days. Where's your suitcase? You're like, don't risk that. It's not worth the risk to me. But that's just me. All that being said, though, I do realize that getting a hotel room is also insane, and so like, consider that when planning your conventions and travel, because like, it's not worth it for me to, for instance, go to Katsucon and drive those 12 hours to not be in the host hotel that it's happening in, because I don't have to get the car in and out every day. That's just not worth it. I also know that getting a hotel room is crazy expensive and also crazy hard for conventions. They do a Hunger Games style thing where they're just like, boom, rooms, good luck, and like, you just kind of have to hope. that you get the room. Like, I don't think it's very fair. I also wish that, like, cough cough, rooms would actually be honest when they release the rooms and not release them 5 minutes early so they're all sold out by the time you want to buy one. I think it's a little ridiculous. And then I also think some cost way too much. So, like, cough cough Katsu, cough cough DragonCon, I love you both, but please get your shit together. And if everyone just got a room for themselves, as opposed to some people who buy 7 rooms and brag about it on Instagram, you know who you are, and then everyone would actually have a place to stay. But what happens is that people buy a bunch of rooms because the rooms go like that. Like, for instance, Katsucon said that they were going to release their tickets at a certain time, or their hotel rooms at a certain time. They actually released them 5 minutes before. And I know what you're thinking, 5 minutes? That's not a crazy amount of time. I logged on at the time, they were already all gone. All of them. It was crazy. I tried to get, like, there was one left. I tried to, like, frantically type in all my information, get all that shit in. It was already gone by the time I clicked checkout. Thankfully, I have friends who basically what happens is that, like, these 3 people were fighting for a room. They each got a room, but then they realized they could room together. So then they had extra rooms that they wanted to get rid of. They gave one to my friend, who is graciously letting me stay with him and his fiance. So, and then also graciously letting my best friend come along, and one of our friends might also be going. It's great. Wow, I love it. Amazing. Next. Water break. Drink some water. Drink your water. And next up, you must eat real food at the convention. I know what you're thinking, but you cannot live off Dorito and Monster Energy drinks the entire 3 days you're there. You can't do it. So quit trying. I also understand, though, that you probably don't want to have to pay crazy amounts of money for the food that is at, the convention center or the hotel. Like, for instance, I got a small personal pan pizza at Katsucon last year. It cost $14. I will not be doing that again this year. But I was in the vibes, and I hadn't thought of food ahead of time because I was so busy for my road trip that I just hadn't even thought that far. I had a bunch of snacks in the room, but not like real solid food, so I had to cave and buy some food. But also a lot of conventions only have mini fridges and not like microwaves, so ramen tends to be the go-to because you can at least use the coffee pot that's in the room, boil some water, make yourself some ramen. It's not that bad. Some conventions, some hotels like DragonCon hotels will have the the option to get a microwave, but if you're not one of the first people there, you're not getting a microwave. So sorry to burst your bubble, it's not happening. I will also say, on the topic of food and drink, please be careful taking food and drink outside of the hotel room. I always carry a water bottle like this. This one's kind of dumb. Can you see that lip? They basically made it where it's like, you can take the straw out and drink it like a sippy water bottle. It's terrible. If I knock that over, it's spilling everywhere. And it's awful. So I will bring it to the convention, but it will be my daytime water bottle, where I am fully aware and not drunk. And then I have a Starbucks or Starbucks knockoff, I can't find the actual water bottle, that I will fill with adult beverages. And it is a secure lid with a straw, but it's a very small straw, and if I spill anything, it's hardly going to get anywhere. And I say that because, yes, one, it sucks to spill things on yourself, but also, you don't want to be that guy who spills something on someone else and ruins a costume they worked really hard on, or it was really expensive, and you don't want to be that guy. So I know this isn't food, but there was one time I was at DragonCon, and it was a really long line, and this guy, I guess, painted his cosplay in the room and then immediately ran downstairs, and he got yellow paint all over this beautiful Sleeping Beauty dress. And so, of course, she was with her mom, and her mom's freaking out, she's about to cry, and the guy was just like, oh, sorry. Be better than him. And the same thing can happen with food or drinks, so just be careful. Please. Goodness. Speaking of other emergencies that are not cosplay related, though, be prepared for emergencies to happen. It's totally a thing that can happen. You gotta be ready. And I'm not saying, be paranoid, oh, something bad might happen the entire convention. But, be ready, Save some money off to the side in case you have to, get a car towed, or, you forgot your medication at home and you have to, call in a prescription and, you have to buy it. Just be prepared. And don't spend all of your money just in case something bad does happen. Protect yourself. Be ready. Be safe. It's all good. I'll talk about it later, but I will also have a list of things that I think you need to include in an emergency safety kit down below, so you can check that out and make sure that there's nothing that you forgot. And like I said, it will not be an all-inclusive list. This is just based on my personal experience, but it might help you in the long run. So now I know I've been rambling. I know this. We're going to take a water break. That was for you too. Drink some water. But I know I've just talked about a lot of boring stuff and stuff that may actually try and deter you from conventions because it's a little pricey. And I understand that. That's kind of why I'm making this video, so you don't go into crazy debt trying to fit in with everybody going to big conventions. But enough of the boring stuff. Let's talk about the fun stuff. First fun thing I want to talk about, because I am a cosplayer, is getting a photographer while you're there. Now, there are some photographers that you'll just see. Well, you'll probably see a lot of photographers. Let's be real. You'll probably see a lot of photographers out and about taking photos of people. And 9 times out of 10, that's probably a prepaid photo shoot. They probably already paid for that. So I always say if you're going to look for a photographer, look before the convention because their slots will fill up quickly. I have a couple of people that I look up to and admire their photography. Their slots go within like the first couple of days of releasing them for convention. So like, just keep your eye out. Now that being said, there are definitely some photographers who do free photos. Either they're up and coming photographers or like they just have some free time. Someone canceled and they want to do a photo anyway. There's also some that do like giveaways, like my this post, follow me on Instagram, that kind of thing. You could win a photo shoot. And if you like their photos, by all means, like enter, check it out. And if not, maybe try and book them for a photo shoot. Now, that being said, there is a range of costs of photo shoots. Now, these ranges that I have pulled up, that I've written down, are based off of what photographers that I see on Instagram all the time and what their prices are. So it usually breaks down to one person can be anywhere from like $30, $45 all the way up to $120. Duos, because a lot of photographers will split up duos versus groups because that's what they're comfortable with. That's the price range they want to work with. But for duos, it can cost anywhere from like $60, $75 to like $160-ish dollars. And then groups, which is 3 or more. Some photographers cap how many they'll allow in a group. It really just depends on the person. But those can cost anywhere from $90 to $200, or they might charge it like $75 per person or something like that. And then you also need to check and see if photographers offer edited versus unedited versions of those photos, like if you have to pay for edited versions or if it automatically comes with edited versions. And if it does come with edited versions, you need to see like how many edited versions are you going to get, and always see if you can get the raw photos. Motorcycle. Some people do not want to give out the raw photos, and you have to understand that like while it's your cosplay, the photos are their art. And so if you're not comfortable not getting the raws, find a photographer who will give them to you. I don't personally like that some photographers will not give you the raw photos, but that, just because if I'm paying for it, I would like to have them, but I understand. And like by all means, you can totally just like take your phone and take photos with, your friends and yourself. I will say though, if you do that, like for instance, Katsucon has the gazebo, wait your turn, and it has other photo places that people really enjoy. Don't butt in, give people their space, especially if you see an actual photographer with them. Oh my god, they probably paid money for that. Like, give them their space. Try not to get in the background, like avoid that, But like if you're just taking photos with friends, don't set up in the middle of the floor, right? I know it's tempting. Don't do that. Please, like everyone wants to enjoy the convention, and no one wants to like be like, oh, those people with the camera in the middle of the floor are really taking up a lot of space. That's really fucking rude, Like, don't be those guys. Respect those around you. You can still have fun while doing so, okay? Find a side hallway if you want to make some TikToks, like whatever, but just respect the people around you, right? That's all this is all about. Staying safe, being full of respect. That's all you can do. That's all we got. At the end of this video, I'm also going to drop some photographers that I really enjoy working with, or that I have seen really cool photos from. So keep an eye out for that. If you're like, I don't know where to start looking for photographers, I'll put some right there at the end for you. Don't worry about it. So another fun thing that you can spend your money on is merchandise. Yes, and not like con specific merchandise, although some conventions do have that. Like I know Dragon Con, you can buy shirts or like specific lanyards. Like they give you a lanyard, but you can buy a different one, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm talking like anime merch or like the Artist Alley, things like that. First I have a way that I do the Artist Alley before I get to the budget. But I have a way that I do Artist Alleys in like vendors halls, and that is day one, which is usually Friday, because even if conventions, like if people are coming into the hotels or the cons on Thursday, there's usually not the Artist Alley open yet or the vendors hall open yet. So Friday morning, I try and get up a little earlier and go and just walk around. I don't buy anything. I'll grab a bajillion business cards. I'll take photos if they allow. Make sure booths don't have signs that say like no photos allowed. Like some artists are very strict about that. Don't take photos without consent. Oh my God. Not just for artists, just anyone. Cosplayers, artists. Well, maybe dogs. I feel like dogs are safe. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh my God. Exception. Most dogs are a safe exception to the rules. I feel like pets are, you know, whatever. But I always go in. Friday morning, I go into the Artist Alley. I'm walking through it. I'm checking it out. Then I'll grab business cards. Then Saturday, I won't even look at it. I won't even go near the Artist Alley. The artists, God bless them, I know they have to be there the whole time. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. And I know if I do, it's because if I go back in there more and more, I'm going to want to spend money. And I try and wait until the last day, which is Sunday. And I get in there early. You got to get in there early before the crowd gets there. That's another reason I don't go on Saturdays. It's the busiest day. Everyone is usually there on Saturdays, and it's just safer to like not be in the crowd, especially because I usually wear something really uncomfortable on Saturdays or really fragile, and I don't want to be hit by a bunch of people trying to push past me. So Sunday morning comes around, I'm usually wearing something more comfortable, especially because it's the day I have to leave, and I will go back in, business cards in hand usually, or in my wallet, and I will look at which booths I want and be like, okay, this one, and this one, I have to get these things. Everything else is like a maybe, especially after tax and everything, because I personally will not let myself spend more than like $150 to $200 at a convention. I'm just not going to do it. I do not have a disposable income like that. I cannot be spending it on crazy things. I will say though, oh my gosh, check out Jessica Nigri's video on her spending a crazy amount at an anime convention. It's so fucking funny. If I can put it there. If not, it'll be in the link in the description. But she's cool. Check her out. You probably already know her. She's amazing. But I will not spend more than $150 to $200. Some people, that's their minimum. Some people are like, I'm not going to spend any less than 200, any more than 1,000. Like, whatever your budget is, you do you, boo. Just make sure you're being responsible with your money and set that budget so you're like, I have to do this. Because at least for me, it makes me feel better, because like I don't like as a person, I don't like spending money on myself. I don't like buying things for myself. I feel kind of guilty when I do it. So when I give myself a budget, I'm like, oh, well, I don't actually feel that bad. I told myself that at this convention I could spend this much money, and it's okay. Like for instance, if I go into a local convention, I might bump that up a little bit because I don't have to go as far. But like for Katsucon, I might bump it down a little bit and not spend more than like $100 because I'm going to have to drive 12 hours up and 12 hours back. And while I will be going with a person this time, like not just by myself, that's still the cost of gas between two people is still probably going to be close to $60 to $80 per person, just because we're going to have to stop for gas like 3 or 4 times. And I also have to account for like the food we're going to eat on the way up and like all that stuff. So that's my rule for the merch hall, Artist Alley. But like I said, you do you. This is all just advice. You don't have to take it. It's all optional. So let's say you've done the math. You know you're willing to spend this much on the ticket, the hotel room, the food, the merch, save some for expenses, emergencies, all that kind of stuff, right? You have those numbers planned. You like the vibes at the convention. What are you going to bring? And I know you're thinking, I know what I'm bringing, right? Costumes, some normal clothes, right? I was going to make this an entire section of this video. And upon writing it out, I realized that just reading off everything would, 1, be boring, but 2, it's a really long list. So instead, what I'm going to do is leave either a link down in the description or a screenshotable thing right here, or you can check it out on my Instagram. When this video goes up, I will leave a version there too of a checklist for you. You're welcome. So that way you can, and I'll also make it to where you can add some things if you need. But I'm going to make a checklist that I feel like is pretty inclusive of all the things that you may or may not need for a convention. And you can make it your own. You can print it off, whatever your heart desires. But I'm going to leave that down below. But it's also going to include what I think should be in an emergency kit. Because yes, I do think an emergency kit is important. My emergency kit, oh, do I have it? I might not have it out. Darn. I have this little thing. Maybe it's on my desk. Hold on. My desk is such a mess. It's not in my desk. But I have this small... Camera, calm down. I have this small thing that's about this big. It could probably honestly It could probably honestly fit into a pocket or a small purse. But it is like an emergency kit, so it includes a couple Band-Aids, scissors. I think it even includes a needle and thread. I might have put that in there myself. And things like that. But I will put everything you need down in the description, just so that way you can make your own little packing list so you know what you need. But I do think it's important to plan ahead so that way you're not like stressed the day of trying to figure out what do I need to bring, what do I need to pack. Like, you know, you don't want to do that to yourself. Conventions are supposed to be fun, so we're trying to make them as fun as possible, as responsibly as possible. But that is all I have for this video. So thank you so much for sticking around and watching it. Please like this video, subscribe if you want to see more convention tips, or if you just want to see my shenanigans that I get up to on this channel. I make cosplays, I do crafting things, I sometimes just talk at you like this. I also do convention vlogs. My next one will be my Katsucon vlog. So that'll be out, when this video comes out, that'll most likely be out in a couple weeks. So that's kind of exciting. But I'll leave it up in that little corner, either the Katsucon vlog or a vlog I think you might enjoy. And also, please feel free to, like I said, like this, comment down below if you think that there's something that I forgot, or if you see someone struggling in the comments with something, I was like, hey, what about this? Please help out. I'm not against that. I'm never against that ever. And please share with somebody that you might want to go to a convention with and be like, what about that large convention we've been talking about but didn't know how to plan? Maybe this is a good place to start. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye!